The Black Fat Femme Podcast is a production of iHeartRadio and Dr. John Paul, LLC. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Black Fat Femme Podcast, where all the intersections of identity are celebrated. I am one of your hosts, John, also known as Dr. John Paul, and while you were trying to figure out why your Labubu was being held up in customs, I had the most delightfully splendid chocolate chip cookie in the Delta Sky Lounge yesterday. Delta, sponsor the show, girl.
Please.
But also, where do y'all get them cookies and where can I get more of them? So I have learned that there is a cap. You know I've been battling with my sugars, right? Everybody who's been listening knows that sugar diabetes has been trying to take your girl out, but she's maintaining and she's managed. And I had one cookie yesterday and it was tasty. It was fantastic. Almost as good as Panera Bread's kitchen sink cookie. Almost. I'm not going to give it that much, but it was good. It was really, really good. So I just want to throw that out there. Delta Sky Lounge, y'all did what y'all needed to do with that cookie, and it definitely put me where I needed to be. The food, not so much. I don't know if y'all know the Delta Sky Lounge situation. The food ain't ever really that great. But the cookie, it hit. But anyway, how are you, Queen Joho?
Pause real quick. Do you hear a beeping?
That's me. Sorry. Okay, no. The alarm at my hotel. Hold on.
At first, I was like, "Come on, background music." It was giving Renaissance. You, and I, Q, you. And I was like, "Work." And then I was like, "Oh, this is not on purpose." Hey fam, it's Jordan, aka Joho, one of your favorite baddies on the internets, calling in from motherfucking NYC. And I have to tell y'all, girl, these subway stairs. These fourth floor walk-ups, god damn. I best have Beyonce booty by the end of my time here. Because Lord Jesus in heaven, why? I have friends who bless their souls. They live on the fourth floor, which actually means you gotta go up 5 flights of stairs. Because the first floor, just for shits and giggles. It's just for funsies. You just walk in, you walk up a small flight of stairs to get into the door. Then you were like, oh, the first floor. Then you're like, oh no, JK girl, that's actually just like the mail room. Then you gotta walk up 5 more flights of stairs to the fourth damn floor to get to 4B. And by the time you get there, the last flight of stairs each time took me out. I was out here wheezing like, yeah. Like, I was like, are you good, girl? I was like, oh, come on, girl. I was like, I'll be right there, okay? Like, y'all got no elevators in these streets? Oh my God. And the subway, tell me why. The subway got my damn nerves. Why can't y'all just give me a ramp across the platform? Why I got to go all the way downstairs, 2 flights, then go under the tunnel, then go up a flight of stairs? Also, how you got subways on top of subways? Like, tell me why. I was thinking. She's a local now. I was taking the 1 train, okay, and it turns out the 1 train is actually a floor above the N train. Why are they on top of each other? Because girl, when it collapses, I'm gonna sandwich a bitch. That's not for me. I'm proud of myself.
Not for me, babes.
Not for me, babes. Proud of myself. This week I have been an NYC girly. I've been a local girl. I feel like I have mastered the subway.
You really have.
I've been doing the damn thing, but I just like explain to me, like, do I love the subway? Yes. Is it convenient? Yes. I'm a BART bitch from the Bay. I'm used to the underground trains. What I do find funny is that here, when it crosses the water, it goes on the bridge, right? So people in New York are like, your train goes underwater, as if that's crazy compared to 2 trains on top of each other.
But hold on, pause. There's a tunnel so when I was there back in April, there was a tunnel that we drove under. And he was like, yeah, we're underwater. So why is, I don't know.
Was that the Holland Tunnel?
Y'all can have that. Yeah, I think so. Y'all can have that.
Like,
I don't do subways like that.
Oh, you said I take me a car. I take me a car everywhere.
Uber everywhere. Even last night, someone was like, oh, you could take a train. Like when I was in Chicago, I was trying to get to the airport. So it was like, oh, you could take the train. And I looked at them and I said, do I look like a trainee girl? No, absolutely not. I do not look like a train girl.
My coworkers were definitely like, oh, no. If my coworkers who don't live in New York were like, I would never take the subway. And I was like, now you call me poor girl. No, I'm sorry, I'm for the people. Okay, I'm sorry,
I'm a true Californian. No,
but I will say,
put me in a car.
Okay, but like one that's crazy is that like a friend, I invited a friend out to lunch, and she lives in Williamsburg, and where I was in Crown Heights, which is in the same borough. And she was like, it'll take me a good hour, 50 minutes to get there. Bitch, it's 3 miles. 3 miles in San Diego. I can go 3 miles in 5 minutes. I said,
Well, you can in LA, so I'm used to
that's
it.
fair. But I was like, and after 3 minutes ago, I was like, girl, it's y'all. And now I get why people say dating via borough, dating different boroughs is a commitment. Because
Yeah.
I was surely was in Brooklyn, and I had an event in Brooklyn later that night, and I said, oh, I have to go back to the city, and then to go back to, I'm not gonna make it, girl. I'm not gonna make it. I'm so sorry. Not for
Yeah,
me, babe.
you
Not
just
gonna make it.
not I won't make it. But yes, but with that being said, I understand your struggle with the stairs because Chicago almost had your girl down at the airport. They don't have a lot of elevators, but they do have a lot of stairs. And when I did find the elevator I needed to find, there was a McDonald's next to it. And I said, I knew I was Beelzebub's favorite. I just knew it. I knew I was the devil's
Nah,
favorite
Beelzebub,
girl.
bitch. I'm
Yes,
weak.
God, yes.
I'm weak.
Anywho, today we have a wonderful guest, which I know y'all probably tired of just us talking at the kitchen table. So with that being said, we're gonna bring a third person in, and I am really excited to introduce them. Now, I have been a fan of their work for a very long time. They are a fantastic educator, a grassroots leader, and a former board member of the Audre Lorde Project. Come on, Audre Lorde, talking about the blueprint of mental health
We
and
speak her
getting your
name
life
here.
together. Audrey definitely definitely got the girls together, and continues to, even in their legacy, still do the same. So I love that for us. She is also the executive director of the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network. And if you don't know what that is, that's Gleason. So with that being said, it is one of the leading orgs in anti-discrimination work for LGBTQ individuals and youth. And so it's just a pleasure just to have them. Melanie, thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thanks so much for having me, y'all, and not you using our whole government name. Listen, listen. I feel
We
like that's
both
the name
got
on our
no.
birth certificate, and we don't use that name anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
we
right, right. But you got to let the girlies
we do,
know,
we
right?
do,
You
Exactly,
we
got to
do.
let
exactly.
What's a glisten?
yeah.
Don't worry about it, girl. Don't worry about
You
it.
just say glisten, and everybody's like, okay, we know what that is. But
I'm
for those who don't,
screaming. Okay.
that's like me because every time I have to put down GLAD, sometimes I have to spell it out. As I'll be on the internet, like, what the hell does GLAD stand for
You
again?
say the whole. You say all the letters that GLAD stands for.
Well,
Okay,
no, I'm saying when
you
I'm
are a
saying like
PhD. I see you.
right, that part. But I'm saying
Listen.
like on a resume or when you have somebody, when someone's like, well, what is GLAD? Because there are still people out there who have no idea what GLAD is, right? I'll be on the internet real quick, like, what the hell does GLAD stand for?
Listen, we
But
are
I am so
journalists, and AP style
yes.
says the first time you mention,
Hmm.
you got to spell it out, and
Correct.
then
Yep.
you can acronym a girl
We
And
afterwards.
can
then you
Okay.
acronym
do
it.
the
Yep. Yep.
acronym. Amen. Amen. And not all the dolls who got a mic are journalists. I
Oh,
want to make
Correct.
sure I throw
oh,
that out there.
Correct.
But some of us got degrees in it. But anyway, that's neither here nor
You
there.
know, okay. So, quick question. So, is it pronounced? It's pronounced glisten. I always wonder how it's pronounced.
Listen. Like
Glisten to the
yeah.
song here
That's
in
right.
my
That's right.
heart.
Exactly.
Okay, this is gonna be a silly episode, y'all. I promise
This is gonna
we're
be
gonna get
the
into
tea.
some
I
serious shit.
swear.
I promise. We're gonna kick off
Yeah.
this show like we do every week by celebrating our girl Miss Tisha Campbell. Since we're getting into our youth education bag, I want to start off by asking both of y'all, when did you first learn about queer history in school? What was it you learned? I'll go first. I'll pass it to John. I'll pass it to you, Melanie. I know for me, God, honestly, I think it was like a blip in high school, like a blip. And like,
Mm.
mind you, like I went to a multicultural, really like diverse high school. Like we learned about Black history, but like, we learned about Asian history, we learned about Latina history, but like gay gay history, right? It was called gay history. I think we learned about people like gay, just in quote unquote gay people in the Holocaust who were marched with the upside down pink triangle. We learned that for
Yes.
like a literal it was like
Yeah.
right, like you open your textbooks, you see the Holocaust, you see history, you see maybe one page of Holocaust, one 3-page paragraph about gay people in the Holocaust,
They
and
said three
then maybe
paragraphs.
barely, and then maybe
Hmm.
I think we learned about like HIV and AIDS, but just how it was like only for gay people. Like it was not much where like I know there was no education about Marsha, no education about Sylvia, no education about Star, no education about the Stonewall riots, no education about the Compton
Hmm.
cafeteria riots, which I'm from the Bay Area, so how do you not give me my own history in San Francisco? Like I didn't get rid
Real.
of that. That's when I first learned about it in school, and it was really like really minimal education. We we had a GSA. We did not have no anti discrimination laws or like we had no safe space stickers. It was not a safe space, girl. It was a brave space. If that, it was a space you gotta go. You want to go on and get by yourself and call that a good damn day. Like it was
Yeah.
rough in them streets. But I'm curious for y'all. What was it like for you, John?
Yeah. So, I think kind of to your same point, as you were talking about that, I initially had said that I didn't learn anything, but very much kind of the same thing. There were like blips, right? So we had the GSA, we had our GSA at school. And even then I was kind of like really scared to go. But it was very much, and I will say what I did learn or even what I did know was a very whitewashed history. And I wasn't able to really dive into that history until, and again,
Mm,
and so there's a part of me that also has to make sure that I know, right? Like I'm from the Inland Empire. For those of you who know, who don't know, the Inland Empire. If you think, oh, so, and we've talked about this, right? I think it was like episode 145. We talked about the ways that California is very much kind
yep.
of diverse, but not diverse, if that makes sense. And so growing up in the IE, it was very much kind of like, well, we'll teach you, but it's going to be very white. And so I only really knew about Harvey Milk. I knew about some of the stuff that happened in San Francisco, but that was like it. It wasn't until I got into college, when specifically my master's program. And so, I mean, obviously that should be
Mm,
able to shape how old I was when I really was like, oh, I know what queer history is. My
mm,
master's program is where I learned about Angela Davis and the work that she did. That's when I was able to talk about Bayard Rustin. That's when I really started to understand who even Audre Lorde was and what she was
mm,
doing, what she was trying to help folks do. And so it was truly my doctoral program where I really got activated in the work, right, in terms of Black queer history, where I was able to spend a lot of time really looking at intersectionality from a very queer lens. And I want to shout out my dissertation chair, Dr. Reynolds, for helping me with that. Love you, girl, because it was very cool to be able to have a dissertation chair who said, I know what you want to do and I see what
mm,
you want to do, and these are the
mm,
people that you need to be studying in order to do that. And so I'm always very grateful for Dr. Reynolds because I don't think I would be who I am if it wasn't for her and folks like her at my program.
mm,
Because K through 12, I didn't know anything about, just none of it. James Baldwin, who, right? Like none of that
mm,
none of my undergrad or even my K through 12 was shaped by that. And so I just want to say, I think we need more Black queer history in schools, and shout out to the
mm.
educators. I know that there are educators who intentionally say, we're not just going to learn about Black queer history in February. You're going to learn about it in every single part of the history that we teach. And I think it's
I
really
know that's
important that our
right.
babies know their history. So I want to say shout out to the
Mm,
educators who are intentionally doing that. But what about you, Melanie?
That's a good question. I'm so happy I'm going third because I had all this time to think about it. And here's what I would
Mhm.
say, which is, I'm like of that elder millennial cohort that understood that you go to school so that you don't have to go to like jail for skipping school.
T,
You
right,
don't go to
right.
school to learn. Like you don't go to school to get told the truth. You get through school to get the receipt, right? And so
Hmm.
oof,
for me,
well,
I think I came through my education understanding that the real education I was getting was outside of school. And so I say all that to say that I don't know if I ever learned about queer history. It definitely not in my K through 12 experience. I grew up a couple of different places. From Cincinnati, Ohio. I moved out to Altadena, California when I was 11, and so I went to school out there in nearby in Pasadena,
oh
Sierra Madre.
wow,
Um, yeah, it doesn't exist anymore, which is wild.
that
Which is
was
wild.
wow,
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I was
yeah,
just that's really interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
yeah.
So all this to say, I went to like an all girls Catholic school, and we had a lesbian teacher. Shout out to Miss Tomaso, who was like the creative writing teacher, like butch, like short hair. This is
Mhm.
picture it. It's 1996. She was giving
Daria's sister, kind of Quinn. La la
exactly
la
the
la
boys,
la.
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
glasses,
yeah.
the salt and pepper
Uh-huh.
hair.
Yeah,
Red
very
flag.
much. I came from Seattle just to be here with y'all. Yeah, very
She had
much
swag. She
giving.
had swag.
Hmm. Yes.
So like I knew of her, right? And I knew of other queer people in real life, but like again, I didn't go to school to be told what the universe was, right? I went to school not to
Mm.
get in trouble, and then went out with my little knucklehead friends. Again, elder millennial, youngest Gen X, like self parenting. We were feral as hell, and so what we knew, we either heard from somebody or we made up and just assumed it, right? So all this to say, I don't think that I don't actually recall when I received formal education around queer people, number one, and then Black queer
Mm.
people too. I went to San Francisco. I went
Mm.
to San Francisco for college. And then when I in my master's program, I actually did a trip with my some people in my cohort, a learning exchange in Rwanda. And funny story about teaching Black queer history, we went there and we're doing some art. I have a master's degree in applied theater, and
Mm.
one of the theater pieces we were doing was based on Langston Hughes's poem, "Mother to Son" poem, like life for me had been no crystal
Yes.
Mm.
stair.
I'm
And he
familiar.
mentioned like, oh, okay, well, we've just gone through this. Langston Hughes is like American, Black, queer, blah 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 blah, and just literally said that like Black, gay. It's from the Harlem Renaissance, and among the cohort, it raised the whole big thing of like, is this cultural imperialism? How dare we tell people when their government says that there are no gay people in this country? How dare we come in and say that this person was gay? I'm like, this is going to be the hill I die on. So here
Yeah.
we go. So
Interesting.
all that to say,
Wow.
I think at some point, I was probably the first person in my own education experience to bring in Blackness and queerness in a
Wow.
classroom setting or in a learning setting. So it's a long
Ooh, in a really touchy
That
place.
is
Rwanda,
so
I mean, my goodness.
interesting.
answer.
I
Yeah.
also like would never like. It's so interesting to to be like, oh, to have the debate with yourself, like, is this cultural imperialism, like, right?
Right.
Because like in
It
one
wasn't a debate
way.
with me. It was a debate with other people.
No,
With
no,
the
no, 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 no,
program.
no, no,
Right,
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
but I
but I
agree.
think it's interesting, like
Yeah.
conversation because you go from like, well, like we're teaching like actual factual history to people,
Right.
and, and like when it comes to the cultural differences between other countries, that's just so fascinating. Wow. Okay. Ooh. Whew, okay, now that we have told y'all listeners to take a look, it's in the book and learn your history and learn about all the things in between. Oof, we gotta pay some bills and donate to PBS because they don't take away my Sesame Street because that also educates the kids. Okay, we need that more in our youth's lives. We're about to talk more with Melanie and Calgary is in just a sec.
All right, y'all. We are back. And a butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. A reading rainbow. So yes,
Mm.
I had to do that because it was aforementioned in our last section. But with that being said, that we are in a space with a group of educators today, and I'm really, really excited to get into this convo because I think we've touched on it. We've kind of dabbled around this notion of kind of where we are in America around education and how it's going to impact the youth them, the
The
youth,
youth dems,
and
yes.
yeah, the youth them, and I'm constantly worried, right? I think that's really the only way I can say it is not even just thinking about our queer babies, but thinking about just children in general.
Mm.
And so knowing that many of them are under attack right now, just as much as we are, I wanted to center today's conversation in youth education mainly talking about our future and basically I know Whitney said our children are our future, but I'm gonna just say it real. A nigga is worried. I'm worried not
Girl,
only for the babies, but I'm
girl.
worried for the educational system as a whole. And so, what it's giving, and what's giving a state of the union in this moment, I wanted to ask specific you, Melanie, what is LGBTQ education like for youth right now in schools, and for folks listening who might be concerned or who may not really know what's going on, why should they be concerned?
Yeah. So John Dewey is one of my favorite kind of thinkers. He's a foundational thinker around what we understand as like progressive education in this country. And so
Hmm.
I'm always quote. This is like I love me some Dewey. This is my favorite quote of his, which says that democracy has to be born anew every generation, and
Mm.
education is its midwife. Right. So we are
Mm-hmm.
understand. So Bell Hooks also talks about right how the social order is rebuilt, reconstructed every generation. And so two things, right? One, the education system is doing what it's meant to do. It is recreating a social order again for this generation. You and me and us and the listeners would disagree that the social order it's creating is the one we want to live in, is the one we want
Right,
our children in. And so
Right.
fundamentally, we are in a place where we are fighting for the future. And that's the case. That's the case all the time. That's the case every single generation. And here we are, right? It's both It is a blessing and it is a cross to bear. And here we are, right? Ain't nobody coming but us. We are I don't know who left us in charge, but here we are. And I know that I'm getting into middle age. The way I've been having like baby hot flashes, I'm like, okay, so I'm definitely the adult because I'm in perimenopause. So here we go.
Yeah,
I guess we're gonna have to get
I am definitely the gay uncle auntie. I
yes,
feel it. I
exactly.
feel it more than you know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So here's what I would say about all of this, which is to say that again, and I'm like this elder millennial, so I know that you don't trust corporations. I know that
Right.
teachers aren't necessarily going to be teaching
Mm.
you the truth. I know that our history is hidden, right? I come from that generation, and the conspiracy theories, the hoteps, like that's also the generation, like the hip hop kind of scientists
Yeah.
among us. Like we know it's not perfect, but I think that part of what is really disturbing to me right now, and this is me putting on my auntie hat, which I'm worried about the kids. I join you in my concern
Mm.
because
Yeah.
there's so much more of them, their heart, their spirit, their mind, that is served up on a platter to
Yeah.
corporations, served up on a
Yeah.
platter to people in power who do not care about them and do not have their best interests at heart and do not have our collective best interests at heart. And whereas that has likely always been true, right? The kind of capital class, the billionaires have always been trying to figure out how to get more and more of us on the market, right? We literally come from people who were sold in markets, right? So
Yeah.
it's not that it's unheard of or new, right? That slavers are going to try to slave. It's just new the level of access and vulnerability, right? And kind of
Mm.
being exposed to all this that our kids have. And this is not me railing against the internet. Low key it is, but not really. It's me railing against the algorithm, because
Period.
No, yeah.
Block
our
Real.
it.
children it's just reinforcing whatever they pick up. It's just reinforcing that thing, so the hole gets deeper and
Mm.
deeper and deeper, and the world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And
Mm.
if we're going to have a democracy, and that's an open question for us right now, if we're going to have a democracy in the future, it's
Right.
going to be because our children grow up into adults and know how to talk to each other. It's going to be
Mm.
because they are in real life, in real
Yeah.
conversations, learning real things in a world that is in a reality that is shared with other people, and they can make
Mm.
powerful and informed decisions about it. And what we are seeing right now is the real doubling down, the real acceleration of creating a twisted and warped and atomized understanding of the world, right? Where my world is
Mm.
different. My algorithm, my feed shows my Google searches show me something different that reinforce
Mm.
my biases than it shows you to or anybody else
Right.
that does the
Mm.
same search.
Right.
And that is
Right.
deeply concerning. So
Mm.
not quite it's not quite an answer about education, but just to say that again, if we are going to have a democracy, part of what is going to be required there is that we have a shared set of facts, that we have a
Mm.
shared social contract, that our young people know who they are, who they can go to
Yeah.
rely on, what the answer to is the earth flat. That's an easy answer. That's a
Mm.
that's an easy answer. And
Yeah.
why are there 300,000 Google searches for that? There shouldn't be, or Google responses for that. It shouldn't be. There is one answer to
Mm.
that. There's a way in which children believe the adults who came before them, for better or for
Mm.
worse. And the
Mm.
adults who came before them, the ones who wish all of us death and slavery, are
Mm.
in the pockets and feeding off the eyeballs of our children, and they are confusing them. And that's the
Yeah.
thing that I think we have. We are not equipped to. We are not
Right.
currently equipped, or if we are, we're not currently doing what we need to do in order to
Mm.
back, right, this like real takeover of the psychosphere. Our children's minds and brains are they're getting
Mm.
fed on by fools like Elon Musk, right? People who run corporations who are going to rename a body of water the Gulf of America. No, baby, that's not it. Like that's not it.
You can't do that. You can't do that, girl. You just can't do it. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think what's even more alarming is the idea that they're and I had said this in a text or actually in a meeting yesterday. I had said, we were talking about something local that's happening in my job. For many of you who know, I work for a local LGBTQ organization, and what I we had to put out a statement, and in the statement, someone in my office was like, someone in my org was like, we need to put some stats in there. John, I know you are very big on stats, and I said, yeah, I said, but the hard part about this work right now is that people don't believe in research. And I said there are a lot of people who know that they're like these facts are out there and that there's numbers to back those facts up. And we still have youth, not even just adults, but we have youth that are looking at the adults who don't believe in this research and are saying, oh, this is not real. And so that's also the alarming thing for me, right? Whereas when I came up, it was kind of like hypothesis, and
Mm.
you know, you and then you would test that hypothesis to see if it was true, right? That was research. That was the thing that we grew up doing, right? Is this true? And now we have a whole bunch of people saying, well, that's not a fact. And I'm like, no, baby, there's numbers out there to prove it.
It's actually a fact. Like that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
actually a fact. It might not be something you agree with. And here's what I'll say as an
Yeah.
educator. I'll say this: learning low key sucks. Like you have to
Mhm.
think a thing and then be shown that the thing that you were thinking is incorrect, and you have to take in new information. Like it's not a fun unless you're in the habit of it. I have a whole master's degree. Learning shit is not necessarily fun. I don't like. I'm an Aries with the Leo rising and a stellium and Libra. So I
Mhm.
literally believe that I am right. I don't say nothing unless I think I'm right about it. And then
Mm.
I
Right.
hope when I do it right, if I'm presented with alternate information and I can take it in and it feels reasonable, okay, I'll move. But you have to prove to me that I am not correct. You know what I mean? That's just like
Right.
it's just in me. It's how I'm set. It's how I'm set up.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and it is deeply uncomfortable. I also like it was. I was in college before I had my first black teacher in college,
Same.
undergrad.
Mm.
Same. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever had a queer teacher. I think I've been a queer teacher for folks, but I don't know that I've
Mm.
ever had a queer teacher. No,
If I
sorry,
did,
I
I
had Miss
didn't know they
Tomaso.
were
Sorry, I had
queer.
Miss Tomaso, but she was an old white
Yeah.
lady. So it's just like there's a way in which like learning is uncomfortable. We also know the ways in which our education system hates our children, hates us, and
Yeah.
hates our children.
Yeah.
Right? Pathologizes our communities, calls police. Like there's just a way in which education is uncomfortable to do, and you have to be in a trusting relationship with someone to learn something.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not gonna call me stupid or send me to detention and then think I'm gonna listen to you about a thing. About
Right.
a thing. I don't know you,
Right.
lady, and you don't
Right.
like me, and I don't like you. So why am I gonna believe it? And then to the
Right.
final point around research, it's like shout out to John Dewey, the Dewey Decibel System, right? For better or for worse, there was one source of play. Like there was if you wanted to know a thing, you would go to a book to learn it, right? And so
Mhm.
again, not meaning to applaud the gatekeepers, right, who kept particular information out of books, or who put particular information in books, but again, having a shared place where we know what this thing is because it's in this book, and we can
Right.
argue about whether it
Mm.
is true or what the alternative information is, or whether there should be some new research or whatever. We can argue about that, but we all know
Right.
what we're
Right.
looking at. Meanwhile, the
Right.
algorithm is telling you that the earth is flat because you've asked it 3 times and it kind of can tell that you want to know that the earth is flat versus
Mm.
what is real and what's true. So
Mm. 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 Mm.
Oh, that is. Who y'all said a whole ass word there, and it really has me thinking. Like, it's fascinating to know that. Like, I feel like growing up, the ops around us were all about show us the data, show us the research, show us the facts, and then
Mhm.
we get on the board to show them facts, and then they move the goalposts. Like, well, actually, like we want more like qualitative data. And it's like, well, when we give you qualitative data, you didn't believe us, and you said you want quantitative data. Now you quantitative data, and now you're like, we actually want qualitative data. Girl, what do you want? Do you know what
tell
you
me your
Yeah.
want?
story,
Like,
girl.
Right.
I mean, like it's like
Is it Uchi Wally or one
I'm
bite?
saying like what's it gonna
Pick a
be
struggle.
like you can't have both, girl. But
Right.
I think it's a good point about like people move the goalposts, and those who are the the gatekeepers of power move the goalposts because the most fearful thing for them are people who are smart, are people who meet them who meet meet what they ask of them, and then they're like, oh shit, like you actually did that, so let me try and move it again too. So that's just like,
Yep.
ugh, that's just so heartbreaking. I'm curious to ask you just like on the idea of building trust and people feeling safe with each other, and like in education. I know that many queer people and families, especially people with children, are thinking about where they best feel safe and might receive the best education. Now, we're seeing migration patterns from people in midwestern states or in southern states to go more more west, in some cases more east, more north, and not much more south. I think I'm saying. So I'm curious, What advice might you have for someone who might want to migrate from their home state to make sure that their queer youth is getting a good education and getting not just good, but like an authentic and factual based education?
Yeah. But this is such a hard it's such a hard moment to be in, right? I strive to be
Mhm.
the world's best auntie. I don't have my baby is a fur baby. Her name is Mojito
Come on,
Marie
Mhm.
Mojito.
Marcus is her second middle name. I'm not going to drop her last name because I don't, again, not trying to put her
We
whole
don't.
government out there for the people. But
Mhm.
Marie Marcus are three of her names. She's got three more. Um, and here's what I would say: it's just like it's so hard. Like two things, and they are definitely in tension with each other, right? One
Yeah.
is that listen, my family, I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. My mom's family is there. My dad's family is in Detroit. Neither one of them before the generation of my grandparents were in either of those cities, right? My family ended up in
Mhm.
Cincinnati and Detroit, escaping white terror and violence in the South. And so, who are any of us to say, don't move when you need to go in order to ensure your life and your dignity and your safety,
Right.
right? So
Right.
that's
Right.
part one.
Mhm.
Part two is that, it's not actually that Cincinnati or Detroit is a racial paradise, right? It's not actually that
Mm,
the problems were solved there. White supremacy is a losing game. And if you play it, you're always going to lose. And so there's a part of
mm,
it that's like, if we are good, if the battle, if we are in the battle, then let's take the battle exactly right we are, right? If we can't, we will be able to have only what we can build together, and we'll be able to keep only what we can defend together, right? And
True.
so
Yeah.
that's like that's the big thing. Should you go or should you not? You should do what is aligned in your spirit and what you understand is going to get you closer to being able to live with safety and dignity. Period. That's all of us. That's part one.
Yeah.
Part two is, like, everybody ain't Ruby Bridges. Everybody ain't a person who's going to be on the front line, who's going to put their 5 or 6 or 7 year old baby on the line to go carve out some freedom for themselves and for the people who come
Right.
behind us. Not
mm,
all of us are built for that, nor should all of us be faced with that kind of choice.
mm,
And then the other thing I'll say is that, part of, and this goes back to white supremacy as a losing game, it's a death cult, is that there's ain't no freedom nowhere except for what we are able to build and create together, right? And so it's just like, maybe the choice is from frying pan into fire, and that's a legitimate choice.
mm,
Right.
And unless we are pulling the thing up by the root, we're going to continue to get the we're going to continue to get the fruit, right, of this poisonous plant. And so this is the work that Glisten does, right? The work that Glisten does is trying to remove that individual burden from every
Yeah.
person who has a child who is in a school. We're trying to move that decision point from individual choice, which is heart wrenching, terrifying. People are limited by their, ability, economic ability, labor mobility. Who can move, right, from Texas to Maryland, right, or who can move from, Kansas to, I don't know,
mm,
Virginia, that one little place in Virginia that you might feel like you're fine, right? There's just like, it's just so deeply unfair and unright, and so deeply exclusive, right? It's a
Mm.
privilege to be able to
Mhm.
pick privilege. It's a double edged sword. It's a privilege to be able to get up and move to somewhere
mhm,
else.
Right.
And even that is a uprooting of everything and your life,
Mhm.
and moving into some other context that you don't actually know as much about. So when
Right.
we think about the continuity of what our people and our communities deserve, our communities are marred our history is marred with the fact that we've had to get up and move, get up
Yeah.
and move. So where are those pictures from the first time that people took pictures way back in the day? In my family, we don't have them, right? We might have one little artifact that someone's grandma hung on to through hell or high water, and who knows where it is right now. Somebody's granny
Right.
hung on to this stuff, right? So it's just like, what we are the challenge is that we are faced with impossible individual choices, when
Yeah.
actually it's a systemic failure. And that's what Glisten does, right? We try to address the systemic failure
mm,
so that we are able to lift up these impossible choices and put them where they belong, put them on the school system. How about you don't do disproportionate exclusionary discipline with LGBTQ plus kids, right? Who are the
Right.
ones, when they're not white and able-bodied and neurotypical, and cisgender presenting, they're difficult. Right?
Right.
It's like, no, no,
Mhm.
you could figure out, we're the richest country in the history of the planet. You could figure out actually how to feed everybody if you wanted to, particularly in schools. You could figure out how to educate everyone if you just took the time and if you cared
Yep.
about them and saw them for who they were and understood that the purpose of the education system is to ensure that every child gets an education. Imagine that.
Hmm.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a point that you had made, and I was gonna tack on something to that. I think the biggest thing that is really scary is how much you talked a lot about this idea of slavery and the enslavement of our people, how that still manifests in education. And I think that's the thing that has been scaring me the most, right? Is that even in 2025, the way our educational system is set up, right? So even the idea, like, talking about detention and trust and all of that, going back to your main point, like, it's really it's really scary to think about the ways that slavery, even in the ways that we operate and how we move, is still present, right?
Mm.
This idea of having to just uproot your whole family and just say, I'm out of here, I gotta go, and then taking them to a place that they have no idea and could still face the same thing that they're trying to get away from. And that's what I tell people. I get a lot of flack from people when people ask me, well, John, because I talk about how expensive California is,
Mhm.
and we all know, like, right now, the cost of everywhere in in California in general is astronomical. And people will say, well, John, why don't you make good money? Why don't you just leave? And I say, I don't leave because I understand the racism where I live. Like, I can comprehend. No, I really
For
do.
real.
Like, going, like, right now I'm in a state, and everyone knows that I'm on the road right now. I'm in a state right now where it's like, I don't know what racism looks like in Wichita, Kansas. I don't know what racism looks like in Chicago. I don't
Mm.
know what racism looks like in New York or Brooklyn, right? And so to take my whole life and move it out there as a black, queer, fat, non-binary body, I'm putting myself at risk. And so,
Mm.
yes, like, when you talk about it's a privilege to move, like, even it's not just the money. It's not just the idea of saying I have the means. It's this idea that it's a luxury to be able to move to a new place and not have to consider how well my child is going to be educated, or if my child is going to be experienced, if my, because again, I have a friend right now who literally has been in and out of her school because her child keeps being called a nigger. And that is literally a thing that has been happening to her. She's
Mm.
literally at school almost every other day because she's having to battle these kids. And so I keep thinking about all that, and I know we could talk for hours about this.
Mm.
So I know I got to get to the next question. I did want to ask you. We talked a lot about data. We've talked about a lot about, obviously, I love how you can. I love the way I can listen to you talk forever. But
Same.
thinking
Tell my
about
wife
the
that.
data,
Tell my wife
yeah.
that. Babe, are you listening? Nobody
Don't get
talks
us
forever.
involved. Don't get us involved with that. No, no,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah. Well, my name is
We are
Biddy, and
not
I ain't
marriage
in it.
counselors.
Yes, yes. My name is Biddy, and I ain't in it. But I will say this: I do love listening to you. And one of the
Same.
questions that I did have for you, is, thinking about, the data, thinking about where we are as a country, thinking about all the, scary, really kind of just things that are super uncomfortable right now as we think about education. I would love to know, how many students, like, one, how many students that you think you serve through your org, and how often your resources are utilized, and in terms of them being utilized, why is it so important that orgs like, Glisten exist in this moment?
Yeah. So we're the data girlies, and it's
Mhm.
been it's been a long time. We were founded in 1990. We did our first national school climate survey in 1999. I was still in high school in 1999. I graduated
Same,
year of
same.
2000. Did you know? I don't know if you know the millennium is coming, and we were at the we were at the cutting edge of the
Come on,
millennium.
Okay,
Y2K.
okay,
Uh,
yes.
Y2K down.
Y2 gay.
Uh, so
I think, yeah, I'm gonna title the episode that Y2 gay.
Y2K.
Y2K.
Mhm.
Stop.
Um, so we're the data girlies, right? So anything you know about what it's like to be gay and in a U.S. school, from us. and the CDC, and the CD knows it
Right.
from us, right? And so the Youth Risk Behavioral Survey, YRBS, is a really great survey that's been done for many years by the Center for Disease Control, CDC. It talks about like youth risk behavior.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, and
Mm.
that's young people generally speaking. Anything you know about young people in schools, you know, because of Glisten. And other people have come into that in the research space. The problem is bigger than any one of us or any one organization can solve. And so I welcome other more folks doing really good, important work, particularly research about our kids.
Hmm.
But what we know is that it's terrible to be gay in schools, right? It's terrible
T.
to be a young
Mm.
person that's made to go to schools and be facing the over and over and over discrimination, harassment. You know, we think about bullying, right? We talk about bullying,
Yeah.
um, and that's such a euphemism, right? It's such a euphemism because truly what this is harassment, persistent harassment, physical,
Mm.
emotional, intellectual harassment in a place that our children are required to be at from ages 5 to 18.
Yep.
And this
Mm.
is,
Yep.
you know, this is about breaking our children. It's about breaking their
Hmm.
spirit, right?
Yep.
And that's low key what education is about, right? Like I said, it's deeply uncomfortable, pretty inconvenient when you want to be right about things, and I say that from my soul. But when you are when you have to be brought into a new understanding of yourself and the world, my God, let that information be true, right?
Yeah.
Let that information be
Mm.
true. Let me not be inundated. Let me not be groomed into information that's not true about me or the people I come from. How dare any of us? And I have
Mm.
to be honest with you, I forgot the question. So can you tell me the question again?
Well, we were just wondering. No, no, no. I understand. I mean, I think you're in a way you've answered you answered our question.
Great.
But I was gonna say, like, I think I would love to recenter the question on. So you talked specifically about this idea of our youth being bullied or our youth going to school and not being comfortable in school, and I guess kind of wanting to think about like the work that you're doing. How do we make
Yes.
sure
Yes.
that how does your org that you're working in in connection with, how are we making sure that we're keeping the babies
Yeah.
protected
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
a space where they're not
Yeah. No, I appreciate the
really?
question, and I'm gonna focus on it
Mhm.
at this time.
That's okay. That's okay.
So at Glisten, we work with young people, right? We have the National Student Council that is about 20, 25 young people per year that we kind of call our young people. We pull them into a national program, et cetera. Those young
Mhm.
people are fed into our national program from local through local chapters. We've got 23 chapters around the country, mainly in the South, mainly in the Midwest, with a couple of outliers
Mm.
like Philly is doing their thing, Oregon is doing their thing, Los Angeles is doing their thing. Those are the coasts. But really, besides those three, everybody else is in the middle of the country for the most part.
Yeah.
And so, you know, so that's part two, right? So we do our youth work through in that way. Both through like local engagements through our chapters and local supports and communities, and then there's a way and for those young people to kind of funnel up into the national program. We also, you know, Glisten. If you know Glisten, you know that we particularly support educators, and we look to,
Yeah.
because we are focused on a systems intervention for systems transformation. Again, like because I want the terrible, horrible, really impossible choice that a parent has to make or a kid has to make when they are facing an impossible school situation. I want there to be a systemic resolution to that, so it's not put
Right.
on the individual to make all these impossible choices at the individual level. So we really
Mm.
focus on educator and education systems engagement, right? We want to give the teachers, the administrators, the local education agency leaders, the state education agency leaders, the time that's
Mhm.
out across the table on a regular basis from the former Secretary of Education, right? We're talking about transform the system so that individuals don't have to deal with impossible situations. To your question
Yeah.
about data and numbers, our Rainbow Library program reaches over 6 million young people, right, in school. So it's a set of, and this is redundant to say because it's created by educators, and educators know what is developmentally appropriate because they go to school for it. But these are
Right.
developmentally appropriate educational materials, literature materials that are sent out for free at no cost to the educator or to the library. And we've sent
Wow.
those out to thousands of librarians and educators, reaching thousands of schools, reaching
Yeah.
over 6 million young people are reached by our Rainbow Library program. That's one.
Mm.
Two, educators download materials from our sites. We have curriculum guides. We've got in-class resources. We've got how do you start a DSA. We've got all the things. We're the information girlies, and those are downloaded over 500,000 times a year. And our resources overall, those are specifically like classroom resources, 500,000 times a year. And then overall, our resources, all the things that we have, are downloaded 1.5 million times a year. So we've got the thing about Glisten is that we've been around for a long time and
Damn.
we are quiet and doing the work. I say to my team, um, we're like the lesbian with the lanyard, right? We're like the lady who like we just like it's we got all the keys, we know all the people. What you need, baby? What you need? I don't need
Yeah.
you
Yes.
need to get in this room. Hang
Hmm.
on. Jangle, 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 jangle. Here we come.
Yeah.
Let you in. Bye,
Yeah.
bye, honey. Be great. Right? Like that's who we've been for such a long
Hmm.
time. And I think that we can do what we do better. We can do what we do in a different way. But just to say that the place
Right.
that we come from is a place of let me get you the materials you need. Let me trust you as an educator. Let me know what you need from us that we could be doing better or
Right.
more of, and we're going to try to meet that need. So that's
I know
what we do.
that's right.
That's what we do.
Yeah. I love it. And I love when you mentioned the point about being, kind of a quiet organization. I think, I always think that there's a true belief that those who make the most noise make the most change. And I don't necessarily know if that's the truth. It's important to have noisemakers in this work, but I definitely appreciate that y'all are doing the work.
Mhm.
And like I said, the Rainbow Library is something that I didn't even know about. And I work for a queer organization. And so
Seriously.
I definitely love that that exists, and I'm really happy. I'm just really thankful for the work that you're doing, and I don't necessarily know if you get thanked enough for the work you're doing, because I think of this work, especially, and I say this work like even down to us setting up to do an educational like
Mhm.
episode per se, right? No one's going to come back and say thank you, John, thank you, Joho, for doing that, and so a lot of this is very thankless. But I think as somebody who knows how hard this work is, and the state that we are all in around education, I just wanted to say thank you
Thank you.
for the work you're doing.
Okay, fam. Now that we have placed the fear of God or whatever y'all be rocking with or get wherever you believe in you around the state of our state's education around the
My
country,
God.
we gotta take a quick break and revisit something that we ain't been in for a minute. We'll be back in just a sec. Okay, we are Black Fam, and I wanted to first just say, Melanie, I just want to echo what John's sentiment in the last segment. Like the work you do is so interesting and so cool because, especially because I've always listen is not such like a forward facing like organization that way, and I've myself
Hmm.
always wondered like what exactly does Glisten do? Like what does happen here? And like hearing all like the background stuff is so amazing and so cool because truthfully like you actually done a lot of work that like is what set has what set that has is wow English is hard today. That is what has set us up to like succeed with our kids in school today that like we would never have known. And so it's such a gift to have you on the show today and such a gift to
Yeah.
hear you speak and everything you're saying like everything you're saying is just so like wow, just wow. So thank you very much for your time and being with us today. For
T.
this week's segment, we want to stay in line with taking care of our gabies. And like as mentioned earlier, the number of issues that queer kids are dealing with continues to rise every day, and so a lot of the issues are surrounding mental health. And so I want to ask you thoughts or advice that you might give to to a baby who might be listening to the show who are worried about their future, particularly those who many who are graduating and ready to go to college where this administration is working tirelessly to take their access away.
You know, I'm an elder millennial, so I keep saying
Hmm.
that. Uh,
I was like, okay, let us know.
heavy on
Thank
heavy
us
on the
all too.
elder, heavy on the elder. And so again, I'm going to say this,
Woo.
and I don't think it'll resonate for a number of people younger than me in the millennial cohort, even folks younger and younger generations. It's that I come from people who never trusted the government. I
Yeah.
come from people who always understood that the people in power were working against our freedom and our life and our dignity. And I am so sad that two things, that one, what we our hope and our desire to make change has been so deeply co-opted and bastardized through the current two-party system and through the current failing mechanisms of our government. Like, it's a democracy is people, the people who belong in a democracy are the people in a democracy, and here we are. And we come from a legacy of people who've been trying to make this country worth a damn. And the
Yeah.
work continues on that. And even as the work continues, babies, we have to understand that these people ain't for us. We
Nope.
we are for us. Find your people who are for you and go in and find them, and that's where you find safety. That's where you find support. That's where you find affirmation. Don't go after these in these people's places wanting them to love you. Don't do that, because they don't. And they won't, and
They don't.
they will lead you
Nope.
around. They will drive you from yourself
Mm.
looking to get their love and affection and attention. And don't do it. Don't do it. It's a racket. So that's one thing I
Yeah.
would say is, like, do not be fooled, and do not, and they listen,
Mhm.
these hoes ain't loyal, and we should, and we are the hoes. We should not be loyal. We are loyal to our people. We are not loyal to these corporations or these institutions or these leaders.
We are
No,
those.
no.
Take me.
Permanent interests only,
Yeah.
never any permanent friends. So that's part one. And part two is like, again, and this, I'm saying this is a person with a master's degree. It's just like, this is not, you are never going to be you're never going to reach enlightenment through education. You're going to reach enlightenment through work and with yourself and with your people, looking for and finding and building love and community. That's where we find our peace. That's where we find our freedom. Let's do that. And I'm not saying we should be small. We should do that big. We should do that real big. I lead a whole organization, a whole national organization. And while it's not my political project, while it's not a place that reflects all of my values, it's not a place for me to put my values into my specific political point of view into action. That's not what I do in my job at my organization, right? I
Yeah.
work for the mission at my organization. So we bring our best selves to this work, and bring your best selves, build people around you that have your best interests at heart. And when you understand that people don't want you to win, or you understand that people don't love you or aren't for you, keep it pushing. Keep it pushing.
T.
Okay.
Woo!
Okay.
That's a word.
So that's what I would say. So, like, is college
Yeah,
is
that's a
college the
word.
route? Maybe. Is trade school the route? Maybe. I know that whatever you can do to earn a living that lets you hold on to your dignity, lets you work for a little bit and lets you not work for a little bit, like, that's the goal, right?
Yeah.
I come from my mother raised me as a single parent by choice, and she loves her work. She's brilliant. My mom is super brilliant. She's 83 now. Super brilliant, really smart, has done incredible, amazing things. She's a Capricorn. And listen, if you
Yes.
I talk about how my love language is being read for filth by Black women, and it's low key because I like to see my first performance review when I was like 3. So like, so like, shout out to people who do the impossible stuff and who give their life to the work for the movement and for a community. And then I also have a cousin, my mom's first cousin, so she's my second cousin, also my mom's same age. Well, baby, she went to work, she did her thing, and she left, and she went to go play bridge, and she went to barbecues, and she wasn't gonna let these white people drive her crazy. Both of those
Right.
ways of being in this world are totally, totally valid. So we don't
Yeah.
actually have to give ourselves away. And
Yeah.
to the extent that you don't have anything left for yourself or your loved ones, kids if you have them, family if you got them, booze and bays if you got them, then you're giving too much. You're doing too much. Dial it back. Do something else. Do less. Right? We are not all
Yeah.
Ruby Bridges. We are not all meant to. I think the time for martyrs is over. I think the time for us to die on our sword is over. It's time for us to live. We've got to,
Yep.
again, we can only build what we can do together, and we can
Yeah.
only keep what we can defend together. And so we have to be oriented in that way, I think.
Yeah. Man,
Mm.
baby, you said a whole word. And you're also speaking to me because, I will say this on the air. I've really been thinking about, do I want to go back to, corporate? Do I want to go back to education? And do I want to do this? And do I want to do that? And, I really appreciate you saying only be in places where you feel like you can be celebrated, because I think that's a big part of
Or make a difference, right? Like,
or make a difference.
Listen, I've been at Glisten for 6 years. I was fighting for my life there for the first several, right? And so it's like, people, I don't come to work, and I'm not saying this about you, but necessarily, but it's just to say that, like, I don't come to work to be celebrated. I come to work to do my thing, and then I go to my people to be celebrated. To your point, right? It's just like, we can't, like, let's not look in the wrong places for the things that we need. We have to look, we have to
Mhm.
go to the aisle in the grocery store where that thing is to
Yeah.
find the toilet paper. I can't go to the produce
Yeah.
market and wonder where the toilet paper is. You know what I mean?
Right, right. No, I get what you're saying. I think when I say celebrate it, what I mean is where you don't spend
That's right.
your whole time fighting.
That's right.
You know, you want to be at a place where you genuinely want someone to see your education,
Yeah.
what you bring to the
Yeah.
table, what experience you bring, what knowledge you bring, and say, we need that here and we want to make a difference with that information. And I
Yeah.
think that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
And so I think to your point, Melanie, I don't want us to purport ourselves to be a Dr. Phil
Yeah.
where we're pretending to give out, information, but I think the babies see us and I think they look at us. They look at the show, they look at my book, they read our articles, they look at us as, the legions of folks who came before them. And we've all dealt with hard things. And I think a lot of us are in a lot of ways the blueprint for them. And I think the biggest thing that I'm taking away, not only from you in this segment, but also thinking about, what advice I'd give to a baby right now who's looking around going, this shit is bonkers.
Yeah.
I think it is really imperative for them to recognize that the thing I want them to strive for and whatever that means, right? So like I keep thinking to myself, right now, the way that I work, the space that I'm in, the way that I can do my work, right?
Mhm.
From the book to the pod to the being on different shows and all
Right.
that's an element of freedom for me to
Yep.
be able to help uplift other people, right?
Yeah.
The work we're doing is freedom work. And I love your point about this idea of not being a martyr, because I think people think you have to be out in the street fighting against the police in order to make a difference. And it's like, yes, there are people who want to do that,
Mhm.
but you don't have to do that. You can
Mm.
you can do freedom work however you decide you want to do freedom work.
That's right.
And you can also make change however you want to make change. And so I think it is imperative that, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but haters are going to always be there.
Mhm.
Haters will always hate because they hate the idea of us
Period.
being free as people. And I want our babies to see us and say, they're free ass people.
Yeah.
I want to be free too.
That's right.
And so that's my most important like piece to give away
Right.
to the babies is I really want them to keep fighting for freedom and whatever feels good for them.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, babies, like I said, keep being free. And so with that being said, we won't be free if we don't pay these bills. So we got to
Okay.
take one more break. And when we get back, we are going to be here with y'all favorite segment. Yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, Pam. We'll be back in a second. All right, y'all. So we are back with our last segment of the episode, which is our yes ma'am and our no ma'am Pam. And this is when we either celebrate people and we give them flowers or we throw them at them. And so this week, my yes ma'am for this week, I wanted to say, anyone who is playing the same petty, stupid game that the folks on the right are playing. And so with that being said, I don't know if any of you have seen. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about Harvard. I don't know if any of you have been keeping up with the
Mm.
Harvard and the right kind of back and forth that's been happening with
Mhm.
them. But there it was. I'm really not. I don't even know the lady's name. I'm not going to even say her name because I don't like the lady. I think she's dumb. And I say dumb not in the sense of this idea of education being kind of like, because I think we often prop up people who have education as being smart people, and I know a lot of smart people with a lot of I know a lot of dumb people with high education, so I want to make sure that I say that. So I want to this person is just dumb because they're dumb. And with that being said, this person sent a very threatening letter to Harvard, basically talking about all of the things that they plan to do or ways that they were going to make Harvard very hard to operate. Because I guess word on the curb, and I don't know how true this is. So listeners, if I'm lying, y'all could come in and correct me. I just want to make that very clear that I'm just going off of what I think I know. I guess they're mad. The right is mad, or I say specifically, that cabinet that is in office, the person who's running
Mhm.
that cabinet is mad that their son didn't get into the school that they wanted them to get into, which was Harvard. So this person sends them a very threatening letter. And I just love the way of how, again, I don't want to uplift Harvard and these institutions, but I love a petty girl. Mama took that letter, like marked it up in red. In red, I don't know if y'all saw it, but it's marked up in red. They rescanned the letter and emailed it back to her and basically said, you need to get your grammar.
if you don't come for Harvard, girl, come grammatically correct.
And I said another petty bitch because that's something I would do. I've had people send really terrible things to me, and I have literally responded with, your the email you just sent me is grammatically incorrect. So if you're going to send terrible things to me, please make sure that you're taking the time to read the email back to yourself before you send it to me, an
Period.
actual doctor. I just want to
Period.
make sure you know
I'm
that.
your doctor. Period.
So I love that. I love that. I love it. I love it. So I want to give. I don't want to give credit to Harvard, but I want to give credit to whoever thought of doing that in the office. I love you, and if you by chance listen to this show, send me your email. I would love to buy you lunch. I just want to buy you. I just want to send you a $25 DoorDash gift card or something just for being my type of people. Anyway, this is the type of petty I live for. Now, my no man Pam, real quick. I definitely want to say this. So I was at Disneyland a couple of weeks ago, and I saw a woman wearing a hat, and I literally I just want to say this: Are you stupid or are you dumb? Because, ma'am, do you realize that these people are working to take away every single right that you have as a woman? And it just doesn't make that. I'm like, I don't comprehend, I don't understand it. Like, I don't know, like, what's not what. And I understand why you're wearing the hat, sis. Like, I get it. You want to tell me as a black person you don't see it for me, and that's cool. You don't have to. But the thing is, it's like, but sis, you are also not like, they're not fighting for you, girl. They're taking all your, they're going to take, they're working actively to take all your rights away. So I just want to
Mm-hmm.
say to the women, like, I don't know if you saw that clip on TikTok of the older lady who knocked the MAGA hat off of the lady coming down the escalator, and she was like, "Get your shit together." She was like, "You look stupid." That's how I feel. You look stupid, sis.
You
Like, you look
do.
dumb. You look real dumb. I also want to add, and I say this in like Kiki Palmer voice. I don't mean to sound ridiculous. I hope I don't sound ridiculous. I don't know who this man is.
I hate to
Um,
say it. I
I
hate
hate
to
to
say
say it.
it.
I hate to say it, but I don't know who this man is. He could be walking down the street
I
and
wouldn't
I
know
wouldn't
a
know a thing.
thing.
Sorry to this man. I'm gonna say sorry to this food. Y'all have been telling me for weeks that Chicago has the best food, and I can't believe you. I cannot believe you. I just can't. The pizza that I had, I know uh, baby Paul, Miles, I know y'all listen to the show. Y'all went to dinner with me. Y'all took me to that pizza place. Baby, the pizza wasn't pizzaing. Y'all told me that the hot dog would be good. I ordered a hot dog. It was not good. I where is the good food? Y'all promised me. Don't argue. And if you want to email me and you want to argue with me, argue with the Republican. I'm not doing that with y'all. I'm not gonna go back and forth. I just want to say I don't think that the food in Chicago is as good as y'all. It might be good because you live there, but it ain't good to me. That's all I got. Melanie, what are yours?
All right. So my yes ma'am is my bestie, my sister, my ace, Latifah Simon from California's 12th congressional district is wrecking shop in Congress. She is
Mm.
moving in the footsteps of my forever Representative Barbara Lee and in the spirit
Amen.
and the fire of Shirley Chisholm. She's been my sister and my boss since 2004. She can call me up right now and tell me to do something. And I'm like, okay, I might talk back a little bit, but I'm gonna do it. Um,
Mm,
and what I know about her is that she is bringing heart and rigor and brilliance to the work in service of her people, in service of our people.
mm,
And I
mm.
get to see that in real time over the last 21 years of our friendship, and I get to see it. And we all now get to see it with her snatching wigs in Congress, and so I'm just so proud of her.
Period.
And just a warning: if you find yourself on the sharp end of an anecdote from her, baby, you are in trouble because she's reading you for filth. Don't let her tell you about how she rode the bus to take her baby to school. Don't let her tell you about how she has paid a medical bill because her husband has passed away from cancer. Like, it's like, if you are in trouble if you are on the receiving end of an anecdote from her, because
Mm.
she is coming for your edges.
Mm.
So that's my yes ma'am.
Okay.
Um, and listen, I mean, I think I kind of said it earlier, so I'm just going to go back to what I said previously, which is like, my no man Pam is like, stop listening, stop looking for love in these institutions. Stop looking for validation from people who don't have your best interests at heart. Just don't do it. Don't, my mom would say, my grandma would say, stop trying to get these white people to love you. And it's like, so there's a way in which it's like, it's beyond, it's
Mm,
like not just white people, it's everybody. But really to say that, like, there are people who are for you and there are people who are not for you. And no man, Pam, to like seeking validation for the people who are not for you. Listen.
Right.
mm. Oof. Okay.
You said you
Girl,
said what you said, and I'm with you when you right.
girl, I
I'm with
bet
you
you
when
when
you
you're
right.
right.
I'm with you when you right. What about you,
Okay,
Joho?
so many thoughts here. So one, I join you, John, in not like plus winning Harvard itself, but like at the end of the day, there's a message to be sent about the richest institution going against the government, right? And I do live for the kind of petty, and what I will give them is like through all its flaws as a institution that obviously is capitalist that also prides itself on elitism.
T.
They know they can take the hit, and I appreciate that. They said we can take the hit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
do you wanna pull our funding? We can take the hit, and we're gonna stand against you. And I love it. Now it's also a gamble because if they bend the knee, like that looks bad for every other university then like around it. So it's like they're fighting a good fight now, but I am worried. But I appreciate that they are putting their money where their mouths where the mouths are. Now I was like, know what?
Facts.
I can
Facts.
respect it. I can respect it.
Amen.
My other yes, ma'am.
I
If
see it in the
you
notes.
want perfection,
Perfection.
take a sip and drink it in,
Damn.
please.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Please.
Uh
Definitely
huh.
comes her. Oh my God. Michelle Williams.
Fantastic.
Michelle Williams,
Fantastic.
my girl, fantastic. Megan Hilty, Jennifer
Fantastic.
Seward, the
Oh,
entire
good.
cast. It was so
Oh,
fun. This
so
show, this
good.
show was for the girls. This show was for the girls
Yes.
because that song where she was like, "I do it for the gays," and I was like, "Ah," and I was like, "Oh, she means the gays." She's like,
No, and the
the
ribbons
gays, the
came out,
gays."
and the
I said,
gays.
"Oh, and the
Yes.
gays," and
Yes.
she went the trans flag. I said, "Oh,
Amen.
word."
Amen.
That show was
It's
everything
so
I
good.
lived like, and
So
like
good.
I'm typically someone who wants a show where I'm like deeply moved. I'm like crying. Like this show is this is a fun show. Like you don't leave it like deep.
Yes.
Like oh, I'm so like in tears. You leave it like this was a fucking key. It was so good.
Yeah.
New York, you owe me nothing. You owe me
Yeah.
nothing. I will happily
Now,
come
question
back.
for you, real quick, before we go into your no, ma'am. When I saw it, the little thing that the potion thing when it came up for Michelle, ours didn't come up in time for her, and so you could see her looking, and she was like, "Oops!" When the little thing did it come up on time
It
for her
it
with
did come up
you?
on time.
Okay, good.
I'm not gonna badmouth Michelle the Bridge Williams. That's my girl.
Mhm.
Vocally, with the best of them. Oh my God,
Mhm.
just was
Yeah,
so fucking good. Megan Hilty was hilarious. Jennifer Seward was hilarious. Like such a good show. New York owes me nothing. I was here. I've been here for a week. I'm sad to leave, although I miss my bed. Traveling is exhausting, y'all. But
it
on
is.
Monday, on Memorial Day, it was the most beautiful day I've ever seen. It was like
It was.
72, perfectly crisp, not a single cloud in sight, a little breeze, not too hot, not too cool. Like people were see Melanie is nodding because people were kind. People were nice. People were kind. No one was like move out the way. No one was like, oh, I'm walking here. Everyone was living their best. Everyone was out. Everyone was
I'm
frolicking.
walking
Like
here.
I was like New
Mhm.
York. The energy in New York that day was pure magic. Everyone was
Well, they
running.
were also off work, so
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean,
everybody was
yes,
off.
yeah, but like a vacation day and a good weather day in this city
Yeah,
because
yeah,
like everyone was like, this is not like a common thing. Like everyone was
right.
out. It was amazing. This has been such a amazing trip. So yes, ma'am, Pam to New York itself. What a glorious place. I spent a lot of my time in the city and a little bit in Brooklyn. Next time I'm gonna stay in Brooklyn. I'm gonna do Harlem. I'm gonna do Bronx. I'm gonna do Queens. Like I'm gonna get myself around because I know that's where like the good stuff really is. I was just being a city girl this time, and it was really cute, but it was overwhelming. So I'm trying. I want to see some Bed Stuy movement. I want like I want to go to the more black areas. But I
T.
will end my time giving me some bomb ass dim sum, and some dumplings here in Chinatown. So it's gonna be amazing. My no man Pam. I honestly trying to think about this. Like, it's just been such a good week. I really can't think of it. You know what? I will say no, man, Pam. To the rats. I don't
I
know.
was gonna ask you,
I
have you seen any rats?
I have I
I
seen
got by one
thankfully
when I
less than
was
a
there for the first
handful.
time.
Them motherfuckers are
Yeah,
huge as shit. I don't know
they are
what
big.
is in the water, what's in the sewers, but them motherfuckers are out here having
Master Splinter.
radiation therapy, girl, because some things were.
Yeah.
I literally, girl, tell me why. I was walking broad daylight, walking down the street under scaffolding, and this motherfucker rolls up to me, paws out. I said, "Oh, it's trying to squabble up." I said, "Not it's sitting on his hind legs, looking at me like I was crazy." I said, "Oh, that that should not pass." Is what I'm getting from this little one. I said, "My bad, girl. This your street, not mine. I'ma go. I'ma go. I'm across the street." That motherfucker scared me. I said, "Oh, hello, little rat," but I can't say little. Hey, big rat. It was wild.
Can, can I ask you a question? Have you seen that meme or that video of that? That's what this reminds me of. There's this girl standing on her porch, and there's a squirrel on her porch, and she's screaming, and she's like, "Oh, this ugly ass squirrel is on my porch!" And the squirrel takes his head and it puts it on me, like, "Who, me?" And she's like, "Yeah, you, bitch." That's what that reminds me of that,
No,
like, rat looking at you
that
like,
rat heard.
what's the problem here?
I literally
What's
walked
the problem
that rat
here?
walked right in front of me, looked me in my eyes. I said, "Oh, it's up
No,
on his hind legs,
no,
chest puffed."
mm-mm,
I said, "My bad, rat."
no.
It watched me as I
N-
walked away. I said, "This is your corner. You run these
You
streets,
can
don't
have
you?
it.
You
You
run
can
these streets,
have
baby
it
girl. Do your thing, girl. My
in New
bad."
York,
Your
concrete
Whew.
that was your
jungle.
application being reviewed by the mayor. That's what that was. That's actually the mayor of New York
Not a
taking that rat,
surveillance
and it
rat.
looks like you failed your application. You have to pack
You,
your bags and go.
it said
I'm
Sorry to tell
you're
you.
not a real New
screaming.
Yorker.
No,
You're not a real New
mm-mm.
Yorker.
He said,
You moved? No, you're too nice to be here. You gotta go, girl. My
she
okay.
said,
Mary Adams,
"You're a
stop.
native New
Stop.
Yorker." She said, "Absolutely not.
She said not
Absolutely
nine this
not.
world. It was
Yeah, you are not a native New
crazy.
Yorker. Mm-mm, absolutely not. Let me tell you, I will never forget the time my friend Darrell, my God, she took me down. So I've only ever been on those trains twice because I said I refused because of the rats. And my first time going down there to get on the train, as I'm coming down the platform, a rat ran. I said no. I
See, the
said
guy is I
y'all
didn't see a
can
single rat on the
have this.
subway. Not see what
No.
I saw rats in
They're
the broad
commuting. They're
daylight
commuting
in the
just like you.
streets. And
They're commuting just like
they
you.
were on the trains. They were literally they were next to me on my morning walk. They was out here
Oh,
letting
they
me
have
know it's their house, it's
backpacks.
their home, not theirs. Okay,
Yes, they
is it
be
not
having
mine?
backpacks and they be on their way to the office too. Like, bitch, move out the
Get the fuck up
way.
out my
If
house.
you don't work, you don't
Okay,
eat. It's called a rat race for a reason. They
okay.
That
found
is
their
why
city.
it's called a rat race. Absolutely.
New York is called a rat race for a
I'm
reason.
They
like,
can
oh hey
have it.
Charlie, what you doing, girl? Oh hey
No,
boo.
no, him and his kids, they all could go to hell. I don't want to do it. Y'all can have it. NYC friends, I love y'all listeners. Y'all are the best people. I love y'all house down boots, but y'all can have them rats. Absolutely not.
Also,
Anyway,
also
we
can I say,
we
I just want to say one quick. People in New York, y'all really are built different. I have been
they
like, are
are.
y'all built different? No, y'all built different because also I'm a leisurely walker. Okay, motherfuckers out here,
Can't do that.
you got to put some pep in your step, and I think I have a cute little strut when I walk, and I do. But I guess my strut is a leisurely strut. Cause people literally like you gotta move, girl. You gotta move, babes.
Yeah,
Like
you got to push it. You got to
you gotta go.
push.
You can't. I was like, I was just trying to take in the bitch. What views? It's buildings.
I
Keep going.
learned,
My
right.
bad, y'all.
Bitch, listen, I learned my lesson. Me and Jonathan were downtown. Look, we were where they call that down in the square. What is it
Times
called? Times
Square,
Square.
horrible.
And I had on some Balenciagas thinking I was cute. And the way that they was pushing through me, like, girl, if you don't move, I was like, oh, this
They'll
ain't
step
for
on them
me.
real quick, girl. Nope.
My feet were
Skechers.
hurting, and
Call
I
that a
was
good
like,
day.
no, exactly.
Okay.
They ain't no time to be cute. You got to move. But with that being said, we've got to move our show because we have definitely gone over time. Please send us your thoughts, your feedback, and emails to blackfatfempod@gmail.com. You can also send us your thoughts via social media by interacting with our posts on Instagram and Twitter by using our handle blackfatfempod. And I have to tell people you have to spell black BLK because Instagram, they played in our face and they wouldn't let us write the whole black. So
Mm-hmm.
with that being said, Melanie, where can the dolls find you?
Y'all should go to glisten.org
Mm,
slash rise up. Take the rise up pledge, sign your name. We ask for your name and your zip code so that we can put a pin on the map where you have said you are down to stand up and
Mhm.
rise up for LGBTQ plus youth. So go there, glisten.org slash rise up. You can follow Glisten on Instagram. My friends follow me on Instagram. And if I don't know you, then you should follow somebody that you do know. Follow
Period.
Glisten. And if
Yes.
you in these streets, I'd be happy to connect. Thanks for
I'm
having
still
me.
gonna follow you
Yes.
though,
Yeah,
because now
okay,
I
I'm gonna
know
follow you as
you.
well. And
Was
when I come
Yeah.
when I come back, I'm like, Melanie, tell me what's good. Show me what's good here, please.
Oh
Yes.
my gosh. Let me give you the a tour from somebody.
I would
Are you in
love.
New York? Are
Mhm.
you
She
New
on
York based
Harlem.
now?
She on
Yeah,
Harlem
Harlem,
Oh, in
Baddie.
Harlem.
the
Okay, I
capital of the
know
Black
that's
world.
right.
It's the best
Okay.
place on the
I
planet.
know that's
It's the
right.
place that Billie Holiday came and
Hmm.
did her stuff. It's where James Baldwin
Hmm.
is from. It's where Audre Lorde is from. So Brooklyn
Wow.
is cute. No,
Speak on it.
respect,
Speak on it.
respects a lot, respects a lot, respects a lot. We love, we love the boroughs, but Harlem is the main. Harlem is the
Respect to Dala. Yes,
Harlem is the
Stop.
mama.
main. Harlem is the main. So
Yes.
it's where my heart lives. It's where I live too. So thank you all so
Yeah,
much for
she
having
could
me
have
on. Really appreciate the time to talk with
you.
you all, and look forward to
Yeah,
seeing you out in these streets.
I know that's right. Queen Joho, where can the dolls find you, baby?
You can find me at Joho Downs across all socials. You might find me. I might fuck around and say Joho NYC from now on because it really is calling my name. My website journydowns.com. If not there, you will find me crying because I miss the bagels. I mean,
I've
I have some
heard.
of the best
Yes,
bagels
yeah.
here. Oh my god, I've had some good ass bagels, and I'm gonna miss the bagels. I'm gonna miss Central Park. You'll find me in a ditch, just sobbing my eyes out, being like, I want to go back to New York, so me back, please. And then someone's like, go in July when it's hot, and you won't. And I'm like, okay, facts.
T. Or when it snows,
Or when
because
it's
I
not.
know it gets cold out there,
I
and I
think I
that's
reserve myself to
also
say
what's keeping me.
I'm gonna have a fall home here. I'm gonna
Mate,
come October and just stay for the month, and then I'll scoot on right back afterwards. Call that a good
yeah,
day.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Call you what they call snowbird.
snowbird,
We'll go ahead and
snowbird.
say
Yes.
call you a snowbird so that you fly back and forth. With that being said, I also want to say I still to this day don't remember the name of this place, but y'all know that I'm a donut connoisseur.
Okay.
I had the best donut of my life when I was staying in Brooklyn. I don't
Mm.
know the name of that place, but if y'all do, or if y'all can think of it, it was a peanut butter and jelly donut. When I
Ooh.
tell you that I ascended to another level when I ate that donut, it was the best donut I ever had in my life. Yes, it was absolutely beautiful. Anyway, but as for me and mine, you can find me over at www.drjonpaul.com. I want to say, please keep going to the website. Also, go to Barnes and Noble, wherever else. Keep running that book up. We have officially hit the 3K mark, which is a big deal for a first time author. So, if y'all could just keep running that book up, I definitely love y'all. That'll definitely help me with the second one that
Love to see it.
I'm getting ready to start working on in the next couple of months. I will have a
Yes.
proposal that I am putting together for my second one. With that being said, thank you for everybody who has supported me. Thank you for everybody who came out to the Chicago book launch. It was absolutely fantastic. By the time you all hear this, I will have left Wichita. I have quite a few more coming up. I'm actually going to be in Palm Springs the day that y'all hear this. So if you hear this on the 4th, was it no the third, the third is the day that this one will drop. Please go ahead and find me in Palm Springs, come on out, hang out. We're gonna have a good time, we're gonna have a good kiki, and then from there I'll be headed to San Francisco. But with that being said, love y'all. Thank you for everybody who has supported the book. We want to thank our producer Bay Wang for helping to put this magical episode together, and again, thank you Melanie for being here with us. We really appreciate you and your time. And we also want to shout out everyone over at iHeartMedia for keeping the show up and running, because we do know that Black and queer voices are being censored these days. And so we are so grateful that we continue to keep having a platform to talk our shit and also talk about the shit that is going to change the world. So thank you for all of that and everybody over at iHeart for keeping that going. We also want to shout out our wonderful editor, Chris Rogers, because without him, we wouldn't have a show or visuals. All Beyonce. This has been another show. Stay black, fat, femme, and fabulous. And I know y'all are expecting me to close the normal way that we close. But this week, I wanted to tell those who hate on me, my co host, and this show, that it ain't going to get you on a Big Ten network, girl. You can keep hating on this show. You can keep hating on us. You can keep being mad. But you're hating from outside the club. How are you hating outside the club when you can't even get in?
Who's hating?
I'll give you more information later. Say Panera Panini pressed honey. Matter of
Gravi.
fact, you can choke on that dry ass bread that they give you as a side with that bland ass soup. I love us for real. I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.
Bye.